What's good, Alabama fans? We had day 3 of SEC Media Day yesterday. Obviously, on yesterday's video, we talked about what Kalen and DeBoer had to say, and we broke down all of that. On today's video, we're going to be breaking down what the 3 players that Alabama sent had to say. Jalen Milroe, Tyler Booker, and Malachi Moore were all at SEC Media Days. Those are going to be Alabama's leaders and team captains this year for the Crimson Tide, and I could not pick a better 3 guys for Alabama to have as captains for this 2024 season. But before we get into the show today, I want to give some subscriber shout-outs for you guys today. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report for a chance for you to get a future shout-out on a future video. Guy Barnes, Trey Howard, Kalen DeBoer, I really like that one. I love that profile picture as well. Might have to save that one for a little future meme action. Derek Studmeyer, Victoria Veneer, we appreciate you guys and girls for subscribing right here to the Alabama Football Report. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss any Alabama football-related news or rumors. So the first thing I want to talk about today, Malachi Moore and Jalen Milroe were both asked about Ryan Williams and what he can bring to Alabama's squad in 2024. Obviously, Ryan Williams, 5-star freshman coming in for the Crimson Tide this year, was supposed to be in the 2025 class, ends up getting into the 2024 class, and man, this kid is absolutely electric. I cannot see what Alabama is able to do with him on the field in 2024. This is what Jalen Milroe had to say on Ryan Williams. It's been great to have Ryan on campus. He was a guy that came in the summertime, so for me, it's about good chemistry and getting to know my teammates, and that's what happens in the offseason. Getting to know my teammates, I tried to get to know Ryan. He is trying to master the game plan and master us as a group. It's new. I was that guy that came in, and it was all about finding your place and trying to get better and also meeting new guys. So that guy that I tried to build a relationship with our reps together, he's done a really good job building, getting better, and he's a guy that is likable around the whole campus and all the coaching staff. It's a guy that is a key resource for Alabama. Now, Ryan Williams just went absolutely ballistic in his junior season at Saraland High School, and he reclassifies to this 2024 class and just did things in high school kids are not supposed to be able to do. You see his stats right there. He also returned 1 punt and 1 kickoff, 4 touchdowns in his junior season. He also had 3 touchdowns and 343 total yards in the Alabama State Championship game. So Ryan Williams is going to be able to bring a lot of energy and a lot of juice to this team in 2024. This is what Malachi Moore had to say about Ryan Williams as well. He said, Ryan, it's crazy to see how mature he is at such a young age. You talk about a kid who skipped his senior year to be a freshman in college. You don't see that every day. And when I see him at practice the first time, I see why he did what he did. But he's an electrifying player, and he's very smart and skilled at a very young age. He understands coverages, and it's just, like I said, he's going to be back, going back to his age just to see how mature he is really wonderful. Now, I'm all in on this Ryan Williams hype. I think he's going to be an electrifying player for Alabama. I just don't know how soon he's going to be able to get on the field. Especially he's coming in as a freshman. And I do just want to pump the brakes just a little bit. I know we are all so high on Ryan Williams, including myself. I think he's going to be very good for the Crimson Tide, not just this year, but in future years as well. But going back to what Nick Saban said a lot, you don't want to have these massive expectations for a kid, even though he is a 5-star, because you just never know what can happen in college football. You never know. God forbid something happens injury-wise or anything like that. You just don't want to put those expectations on him because Alabama still has a lot of guys at the wide receiver position that are really good. The analogy that I thought of when it came to Ryan Williams, it's like having your birthday in November. You've got all your toys. It's really fun. You're playing with your toys, whether that's Jeremy Bernard, whether that's Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law. But then Christmas is in December, and then you get Ryan Williams. Are you just going to throw aside all your favorite toys that you just got in November for your birthday? No, you're still going to play with those. You have a better relationship with those toys. So, having Ryan Williams on this team, I think eventually he's going to be able to get on the field, but maybe not necessarily super early in the season. My biggest question for Ryan Williams, could you possibly see him returning punts for Alabama here in 2024? Me personally, I think he can do a very good job at returning punts. I am always just a little bit iffy about giving those punt return chances to freshmen. Obviously, you saw it with Caleb Downs last year. Nick Saban trusted him enough to be able to do that. So maybe Kalen DeBoer can trust Ryan Williams enough to be able to return punts for Alabama here in 2024. So I want to hear from you guys in the comment section right now. Who do you think is going to return punts for Alabama this year? And I got Ryan Williams on there if you think it's going to be Ryan Williams type RW. And Jeremy Bernard, I put him on there just because in college football 25, I've already returned like 4 or 5 punts with Jeremy Bernard, 4 touchdowns. So I decided why not put him on there as well. So if you think it's Jeremy Bernard type GB, if you think it's Ryan Williams type RW, or is it somebody else? Is it Kobe Prentice? Maybe a Malachi Moore could be back there for the Crimson Tide returning punts this year. You can type O if you think it is other. Reply to me in the pinned comment right now. Jalen Milroe also talked about, his ability to run the ball. And, he was actually asked about taking over running the ball in the LSU game, but then he brought up the Tennessee game for some reason. That's fine, but he really did take over against LSU running the ball. This is what Jalen Milroe had to say about, using his legs last year for the Crimson Tide. He said, one thing that Coach Saban said to me, whether distributing the ball to our playmakers, whether using your legs, putting the ball in play so the offense can be successful, but also doing things that's all part of the game plan. Of course, trying to master the game plan throughout the week and looking at some of Tennessee's weaknesses from our opposing opponent. And when it came to that week, it was all about attacking the game plan and trying to do what was best for our offense, whether it was my arm or my legs. That's what truly took place. Now, Jalen Milroe, I don't think Tommy Rees used him enough on the ground. These were his highest rushing yards last year for the top 4 rushing yardage games for him. LSU, he absolutely took off in that LSU game. He was decisive, and he just went. 20 carries, 155 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Way by far his best game of the season. The Auburn game, 18 carries for 107 yards. Those are the only 2 games that Jalen Milroe had last year where he rushed for 100 yards. And then he had Mississippi State game, rushed for 69 yards. Spam nice in the comment section. And then 21 carries for 63 yards against the Michigan Wolverines in that Rose Bowl game. And I keep going back to this. I don't think Tommy Rees used Jalen Milroe to his total potential. Jalen Milroe should have been averaging at least 50 yards a game last year on the ground. And I think with Kalen DeBoer this year, he knows how to utilize his talents. And so if Kalen DeBoer can get Jalen Milroe in the rushing game, I think he needs to have at least 5 to 7. I would love to see 10. Called quarterback runs, whether that is read options, whether that is RPOs where he's able to take the ball off, or just straight up a quarterback draw. I want to see Jalen Milroe run the ball on designed plays for the Crimson Tide here in 2024 because, besides the deep ball, his legs are his best, ability that he's used, and it needs to be used. It wasn't utilized enough last year. So let me know right now in the comments section, how many rushing yards do you think Jalen Milroe will have here in 2024? He had 531 last year, so let me know. Is it going to be over that, or is it going to be under that? Type O for over or U for under right now in the comments. Tyler Booker also acknowledged last year that Alabama's offensive line had a little bit of a sack problem. They were not very good in pass protection last year. I don't necessarily think they were very good in run blocking either. They did, they had a couple games that they were all right, but for the most part, Alabama's offensive line has not been, up to the standard of an Alabama offensive line in the past couple of years. This is what Tyler Booker had to say on those sack issues. He said, we've been taking a lot of time to work on our pass protection individually, and we have been taking a lot of sets together as well because there's a lot of transition in the offensive line. People were moving around in different spots. So now that we have guys playing next to each other, we have 3 returning starters, and we have been focusing on working together even without the coaches on our free time. That's how bad we want to be great. That's how bad we want it. And while we did fall short when it came to pass protection last year, we are going to build on our run game as well. Now, last year, Alabama just gave up way too many sacks. And, it's partially on Jalen Milroe. He was responsible for holding on to the ball too long some of those times. But, man, Caden Proctor has got to be better this year. And Elijah Pritchett lost the job to Caden Proctor last year. He gave up 3 sacks during that time while that battle was going on. Jaden Roberts also gave up 3 sacks last year, a guy that I really like in the interior of this offensive line. He's got to be a little bit better as well in pass blocking. And then Jason McClellan gave up a couple of sacks. Tyler Booker gave up a couple of sacks. You can live with those guys giving up some stuff. J.C. Latham as well. And then you had 6 other guys who allowed 1 sack each for Alabama last year. And when it comes to giving up the sacks, like I said, a lot of it came on Jalen Milroe's back as well. You can't just fault the offensive line for a lot of these sacks that they gave up. Jalen Milroe has to be more decisive here in 2024. I don't want to see him holding on to the ball for more than 4 seconds without him running it. If it's not there, reads 1 and 2, take off, man. I don't care. I don't necessarily need you being a Bryce Young type guy, whether that's, scrambling out of the pocket and doing all these wild things and then finally getting the ball to a playmaker. You are a playmaker yourself, man. Just take off. There's too many times last year where he just held on to the ball too long, and there were also multiple times where he was downfield. He was past the line of scrimmage and then threw the ball. I get it. You want to get the ball to your playmakers. You want to be that point guard type quarterback, but, man, utilize your legs a little bit more here in 2024. I think Jalen Milroe's game is going to take off if he can do that. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We are trying to beat our July 2023 sub number. We had 377 subs in July of last year. We're up to 239 right now. Just like the Alabama Crimson Tide, we are trying to progress and get better every single year. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. And we've got so much content for you guys. I cannot wait for this season to get started for Alabama. Our watch parties are going to be electric. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here so you don't miss out. Tyler Booker kept going on Jalen Milroe about his leadership as well a little bit. He said, "I'm blessed to be able to play with Jalen. Jalen's a great quarterback, an even better leader. He's a person I leaned on during the transition as well. I just expect a great season out of Jalen. As for the offensive line, we're going to give him the time that he needs, the holes he needs, and whatever he needs in order to be great and do his job to the highest of his abilities." Now, what this says to me is this team right now is still absolutely behind Jalen Milroe. He is the leader of this team. After that USF game last year, he didn't pout, he didn't sit on the sidelines, and he got better every single game throughout the season. And that being his first year as a starter, I think we as fans do not give him enough grace because there's a lot of, trials and tribulations and learning curves that you go through as a starter in the SEC. And I think he's got that 1 year of experience under his belt. Coming in here to his second year as a starter, I think he's going to be a whole lot better. When it comes to Tyler Booker's comment about the offensive line, though, tell you what, man, we heard it last offseason. We heard it last year. They said that they were going to be better. He said that they were going to be physical. He said that they were going to be dominant in the run game. And just look back to last season. They weren't. They absolutely weren't. I thought Eric Wolford was going to come in and be a very solid offensive line coach for Alabama. And he improved them a little bit last year, but for the most part, I don't think they got utilized to the best of their ability. I don't think he got the most out of them. Especially, we've talked about the pass protection and how it wasn't very good last year. Let's talk about the run game a little bit as well. You expect to have, 100-yard rushers here at Alabama. Last year, I just don't think they did enough on the ground. Jason McClellan had 2 games where he rushed for over 100 yards. Roydell Williams, I understand Jason McClellan was more of the running back one, and Roydell Williams was more situational. He only had 1 game where he had 100 yards, and it was against South Florida, so does it really count? And then Jalen Milroe, 2 games with 100 yards against LSU and Auburn. Jalen, like I said, I think he needs to be averaging at least 50 yards on the ground a game. And I think also at that running back position, Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, you're going to get a lot more production out of those guys this year, even if the offensive line doesn't step up and be better in the run game. I just think those 2 guys are better running backs, better athletes as a whole for Alabama this year. So I think you're getting a step up at that running back position. I really hope the offensive line can step up and be better than they were for, the past 2-3 years now. So let me know one more time in the comment section right here. Will Alabama's offensive line be better in 2024? As I almost knocked my drink off the table here. Type Y for yes or N for no in the comment section.